Welcome to your first video by me in this course. Hopefully you have already done the first assignment for Actively Learn for this week, where you created an account, went through the tutorial, and watched a couple of recommended videos. If you have not done that, you want to do that before you watch this video, as this one is not going to re-go through all the basics. This one is a deeper dive into Actively Learn, where I'm going to show you some more tips and tricks. So let me shrink myself down here and get started. So I've just logged into my Actively Learn account, and this is what shows up. I always think it's a little overwhelming because it doesn't actually go to the classes. I would like it to go to the classes first, but that's not what it does. So this is the homepage of the dashboard, and if you see over here, content is lit up, and so I'm in the content searching area. And as just a reminder, I'm going to delete this, but you probably have been given premium access that will expire July 31st. And so as I go through, I'll tell you some of the differences. I'm not aware of them all because I don't use the premium version. But since you have them now, I don't want you to be like shocked when they go away. So I'll try to point out what I am able to. So in the content, you have your workspace and then all of these things we can search through. So right now, I'm not on my workspace. If I click my workspace, I go into my actual place where I've put the text that I want to use with my classes. This is where I wish it would land me when I logged in, but it doesn't. So you have to click on my workspace to see any articles, stories, or videos that you've put in to work with your students. You cannot assign them until they get into your workspace. And then I want you to notice over here, this shared feature, that is something that you only have as premium access. It allows you to share your items with other people in your school domain, but that will go away when the free version takes back to place. And then you can star items just if you want to remember that you're working on them, and that just fills in all those little stars there. So I don't really understand. I don't use the stars. So if you find that valuable, you can do that. Then you can create folders. I've got one for literature. And so you'll see, I see my literature things here, but when I click the literature folder, then I see the ones that I've actually marked there. When I click science, I see the ones that I've marked on science. It looks like I have some that I can get labeled properly. And the way you do that is go back to your workspace. And then I've got one here that I want to go into my literature folder. So all I have to do is click and drag it, and you see it lights up over there. And so I just drop it into the correctly lit up folder, and then it automatically will be in that folder when I open again. So from your workspace, you can see every single thing that you've added to your workspace, which can get overwhelming. And then you're able to add as many folders as you want to organize. You add a new folder just by hitting the little plus here next to folders and naming it. So maybe this would be English. And then you can add things over to there that go with that. So hopefully that makes sense out of your workspace. So when you're searching for something for students, there are a lot of ways to filter it that you should be able to find really useful. First, we'll look at this top menu right next to the search bar. So if I know that I only want things for certain grade levels because I teach 7th and 8th grade, I'm always going to choose that. However, in special education or intervention, obviously people aren't always on grade level. So sometimes if I'm doing a 7th and 8th grade resource class, then I might search the 5th, 6th grade content instead. I can do all grade levels if I want to filter that out. So let's see how that might look differently. So if I have 5th, 6th grade chosen here, and then over here, I will choose civil rights. Let's say we're doing a unit on that. So I'll search civil rights. Then everything I've got is for 5th and 6th grade level. I just know that because that's how I set my search parameters. If I change go to all grade levels, it should add a few more things for me to choose them as I go down in here. And then you can see underneath, it's very difficult. It's small, so I don't know if you can see it on this screen. But right here, I'm going to point out, my big fingers pointing to it right there. It says 9 to 12. And then if I come over here, I've got 10 to 12. So if I put that back down because I don't want anything above 8th grade level, those will go away and they're gone now. And everything is now 6th to 8th, 6th to 10th recommended levels for those things. Okay, these are by Lexile level. They're already on my workspace, and that's why they're at the top. Then I've got actively learned topics, texts and videos. So it's categorizing a little bit what it's searching for you. But one thing I like is that it does check my workspace as well, because maybe I did this 3 years ago and forgot I even put something on my workspace. So that can be handy over time. So another thing you can do is search by Lexile level if you choose to do that. We don't use that in my practice, but I know some people go by Lexile level. And then you also have over here standards you can search from. I want you to notice that the Indiana standards have been added here. And so that's really nice. If you're in Indiana, the NGSS or the Science Next Generation standards. And I believe, depending on the state that you're in, I'm not sure if this pops up with Indiana because it's coded in my account that I'm Indiana, or if I requested those to be added. I can't remember. It's been too long since I added it. But Actively Learn is very on top of things to answer questions. So I believe you would get your state standards if you let them know that you need them. And you can do that by going to the Help Center for support to get contact with them. So here's your Help Center, and you can search something here. I want to know something about the standards, and you'll have some articles here to help you with that. And if that isn't helping you, you can contact support right here, and they're very quick to get back with you. So I did want you to see that. Back to my dashboard for Actively Learn, and that takes care of our top row. Okay. The second bar here is, we already talked about my workspace, which are going to be just those items that I've already decided I want in my workspace so that I can assign them to students. The curriculum units is by grade level. So if I click the 6th grade level there, I will see some thematic units, some that go with novels, and some that are labeled research. You can use them however you want, but obviously the novel ones, they do not give you access to the novel to read itself. It's just materials for the novel. So if you're reading this story, Miracles Boys, and click on the chapter 1 to 5, you're going to get these little bit of essential questions, some ideas, and things for kids to reflect on. And you can assign those to your students or use them for yourself. I believe you get access to that even in the free plan. You can search by genre, and they have a whole bunch here. So if I want to search nonfiction or classics, close reading excerpts, you can do all of that. I really like this tab and use it a lot. Themes are going to be good, especially in the current climate of our world right now. I love that they add stuff that's in the news. Like I just got an email in the past couple of weeks that they've added racism and resistance. It's kind of a new theme they've put in, and you can click on that and see all the resources that they've added where you don't even have to look outside of Actively Learn. So that's really nice that all these things are in here. But they also send emails once you're signed up that say, hey, this is what's going on in the world. You might want to focus on these texts with your students. And so I appreciate those as well. And then if you notice, when I searched that theme, then I have all of them. I can get just nonfiction, primary sources, memoirs. So I can look at that any way I want to get some, like a text set together. So I want to have a nonfiction, a short story, a poem, and maybe a video that I can put all together to be a unit for myself. And I can't remember if the tutorial that you went through would have shown you, but videos are fairly new to Actively Learn. They just came about maybe about a year ago. And so they work in the same way as the stories. The students watch a little bit of the video, and then they get questions to stop along the way. You can see here. So a student would be watching, and then as they get,
I am not
because I gotta get myself out of here.
I mean, that's what the world calls
Let me
me.
get to the question here. This would stop the video and pause for the student to be able to answer the question. Of course, we see the answer because we're in the teacher dashboard, but they can't move on until they answer this question. They can't scroll past it. And so I really like that piece of it. So there are some really good resources in here for us to look at and use with our students of all age levels. So I'm going to go back to getting that theme off of there. Then we have news and articles. And again, every time you click on something, you get a breakdown of different categories within that. So you really can search just as easily as you want. The school library is something, like you'll say, none of my colleagues have shared anything because I don't use a team or school plan. I don't, my current school, I don't even know if there's anybody else that uses it. But on the premium plan, anybody that puts something in the school library, all teachers in your school would have access to it. Again, that will just be on the premium plan and that will be going away. So wouldn't worry that much about the school library. The curriculum units, I think some will stay. I know that there are some curriculum units that are just on the premium plan, but I'm not sure exactly how many. And then the My Imports is important. You should have learned in the tutorial or watching some of the videos that you can import sources from anywhere on the internet. So these are just 2 texts that I took right off the internet that I needed my students to be able to interact with. And I put them in there, added the questions, because we need to learn about a yew tree. My class was reading the book A Monster Calls, and a yew tree is an important character in that book. And so we needed some background knowledge of it. And so I just was able to add the questions myself and pull that text from the internet. Now, on the premium plan that you have now, you have unlimited import. So it is important to know that you only get 3 imports a month on the free plan. However, I've been using this program for 4.5 years. These are the only 2 texts I've ever needed to import. The library is huge, and it is very difficult not to find what you want in the library. You saw all that stuff that came up. So when we looked at the curriculum units, we saw Miracle Boys. And so I just want to search that here so I can show you one more thing about what they have. Because I really like to use this as a resource. So right here is the text Miracle Boys. And then there are 10 nonfiction, 4 videos, 8 short stories, and all of that related to Miracle Boys. This is the main text. These are the things that are provided within Actively Learn. But if you look down here, we'll see this is the actual book, Miracle Boys, that you can access through Actively Learn. Once you did notice, right down here in the shade, again, it's a little hard to see, it's not really an S, it's a $sign. So anything that has a $sign on it is something that has to be bought or rented actually through Actively Learn to use it. So if we click on, I just want to show you how much it is. They're usually $5 or less to rent for a specific period of time. So you usually get the first chapter of something for free, so you can kind of see how it works. If I click on the table of contents, you'll see I can do chapter 1, but I can't go to the rest of the chapters. So if I want to know how much it is, I go on here, and this is $4.50 a license. And so I can just put however many I need. There's one that you'll need for yourself, and then you need to purchase however many are needed for your student. And so it can be very cost effective because if you have 2 students that need audio access to a text, then Actively Learn will read this entire novel to a student, and you can do the annotation with it. So at $4.50 a student versus buying the novel and having it forever can really be cost effective. And $4.50 is about the highest I've ever seen. Some of them are 99 cents for a 3-month rental. It just really depends on what you are trying to rent. So if we go back over here, I had some others that popped up. Got The Color of Water, we've got For Darkness, here's a Hardy Boys book. So you can even find independent reading things that the kids might like. And the rental license for this is $2.80 for 3 months. So it really just depends on the book, but it can be so helpful for students who need access in an accessible way to get to the books that others are using in their general education classrooms. One I saw in there, Warrior, I think earlier, And I believe it's 99 cents. But a lot of my kids in junior high like to read this as a independent reading book. And so it was nice to be able to, Warriors, I guess it is, for them to be able to do this on Actively Learn and have access to it. I think it might have been, yeah, this one's only 99 cents for a 3-month use. So most kids would be done reading it within 3 months. So just to see that, wanted you to know that was there because it is a nice feature and a way to save funds. Okay, so that is the dashboard. Then I also want you to see inside the classes some things that you have. So, excuse me, for my class, this is the PD class that you are all in. You'll see I have my assigned text, but I have all of these data bars as well. So I have my roster, my assignments, my grade book. And in the assignments right now, I can do assignment settings. I can have reading settings and small group settings. I believe the small group goes away when you're not on the free plan anymore, but the reading settings remain. So you can go into any assignment and, whoops, sorry. Okay, in the assignment settings, I want to do reading settings for this. And then this will pop up, assign reading settings. So I can use the class settings I already assigned to everything, or I can customize that, and I'll show you the class setting. So they can see classmates' notes. They can see classmates' responses after they answer the question. I love this one. So they can't see it before they answer, and then they can't change their answer afterward, but they can see some classmates' answers to help them see if maybe they were on the right track. I don't ever like them to see the name. But here is where you can turn on the text-to-speech, allow them to look up definitions, enable language translations if you have an ESL student, and enable notifications so they'll know that things are going on. So here's where you can go in there and say, well, this is something that is a reading level I think everybody should be able to read without having to look up definition. So I might take that off for this one. Or I might take off the text-to-speech if I'm assigning this to a group that's working on building their capacity to read without hearing it. And maybe it's assigned at the lower grade level, and so I want to turn that on and off. But you can do that for each text, or you can do it for the entire, the entire group of assignments that is assigned to a class or to each class that you have. So to access those settings for all your classes, you click next to the settings wheel, and then you will see that you can edit class details, reading settings, grading settings, co-teaching, which is something that's only possible in the premium plan. You can duplicate, archive, and delete classes. So if I go into my reading settings here, then when I get done, it wants to know, are you applying this to all your classes or just that one? So you can choose all of those things for yourself. And then the grade book. There's no students in my class yet, so I can't show you that grade book. So I'm going to go back into my settings where I can show you the grading settings. And this is something that you can label for yourself. I'm going to pop over here to another screen that I have. Excuse me. And this is some of the data that you'll get to see and Actively Learn. And this remains even on the free plan. The premium plan does have a little bit more data, but we're going to use this plan here. These are all available during the free plan. So my favorite one right here is where it is telling us the number of minutes somebody has been on an assignment. So you can see the average for the class is 12 minutes. And I have people who spent 20, and then I have somebody who spent 3 minutes. So the conversation around how much time you spend versus your score or how well you understood what you read is really great. And usually after having those conversations with students, they become more aware of how much time they're spending. And then they'll ask me, can you track how much time did I do better? And so I think that's a really helpful thing for our kids. So I love this one. And then this is the way you can see some of the scoring. You can do it by standard if you've connected it with standard. And then it will say the proficiency. This is each student. I've taken their names off for privacy, but this student doing so-so on meaning and evidence, but much better at main ideas. This student's doing great at both. This student needs obviously practice with main ideas. So you can see some scores by standard to help you plan instruction. And then you also see scores like this, which I love the color coding because red means they did poorly. They probably need some intervention. Yellow is, hey, they're doing okay. And then if they're green, they're right on track. So that's nice to see as well. So that menu I had up a minute ago was related to this. When students give short answers, you can score it as incomplete, basic, excuse me, proficient, or advanced. And so now I want to flip back to that other screen so you can see where that comes into play. So right here are the labels that you can have for those answers. You can change those words, or you could change their pre-recorded words. So I could have it say that instead. I could have it say letter grades or numbers if I want. And I can add my own. So you can change those to say whatever you want them to say, which is really important so that it's meaningful for you and your student. And then you want them to show how many points they're going to get for a correct answer and how many points they're going to get for an incorrect answer. You can change all of that. So for correct, you could say 1 out of 1. I wanted my multiple choice to be worth 5 points each, so I put that there. So it's completely, again, up to you. So these are my points for short answers. If it said exceeds, they were going to get 10 points. Meets, approaching, below. What I didn't like is on the original list of these, it said basic. And it gave basic. This was actually a 5. And I didn't think basic understanding deserved a failing grade. So I changed that to a 7 on mine. Again, you have complete control to go in that for everything or for one assignment at a time. So those are the things that I wanted to show you most in this deeper dive into Actively Learn. There are other things to explore, and so I want you to take the time to explore if you want. You can also put questions in the comments on the Google Classroom. So hope you learned a lot. See you next time.